guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Laura and this is Carley. She's also new here. Carley's my sister and today we're going to do kind of a podcast style video. We just have a lot to talk about in general, so if you like this video and you like this style of video, let us know. We might be starting a podcast or something like that. Maybe just a series of chit chat videos. Today we wanted to talk about the new show that came out, Marriage versus Mortgage, Mortgage versus Marriage. We both feel pretty qualified to talk about this.
Yes, absolutely. We have a lot of opinions on both of those aspects.
Yeah, I think we're both huge advocates of mortgage and getting into the real estate market. You're a real estate agent, so it's literally your job to be an advocate of that.
And we've experienced it ourselves, which gives us we've seen we've reaped the benefits of having a mortgage.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that and get into that. But we're also huge advocates of marriage, and we've grown up with that. And I think we've both grown up with this value of being married.
Yeah. And having weddings and committing to each other for the rest of your life.
Yeah, we're both the type of girl that has had a wedding Pinterest board since we were 12 years old.
Yeah, since Pinterest was created.
Exactly. And we've also had this value of being married before living with your partner. Mm-hmm. But for us, that was not exclusively meaning that you had to be married before you buy your first home.
Yeah. If not, I would say it was the opposite. For us, we were we are independent women. We can do this on our own. And I think it was important for us to grow in that aspect of who we were before getting married or before getting in a committed relationship. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, so let's dig into that, our first experience with real estate. From my perspective, that whole experience started with, I got involved with running my own business, running my own student painting summer business. And at our January training event, there was this really motivational speaker talking about goal setting and setting goals for your life, real important goals that would change your life if you stuck to that goal. So I was 18 years old, about to run my first business, had no idea what that meant for me, for my life, for my summer. And I was just extremely motivated and ready to start my career in business, in entrepreneurship, in being a badass woman.
100%.
And I wrote down a goal for myself that I would own my first house before I turned 20. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those goals that seems
unattainable.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know about unattainable, but it seems so crazy that I was I just have to do it. I have to get there.
Yeah.
It's crazy enough that's I think because it was so crazy, it made me need to achieve it.
Yes.
So, long story short, we could probably do a whole episode on that summer business aspect.
Yes.
But I ran the business for one summer. You came on as an employee at the end of that summer. The second year, we kind of partnered up and you were my general manager and we ran the business together for a year and we made a lot of money. We worked our butts off.
Yeah, we knocked on every door in Muskoka, Ontario.
We painted every cottage and every deck.
We met a lot of very wealthy people, which were amazing supporters of young people who want to be successful, which was so inspiring to us. Yeah. Because we were looking at them, we want to become you. Mm-hmm. And they're like, you can do it. We were your age and did the same thing.
Yeah. So we hustled, we made money, and we made enough for a down payment on our first house. And I think right before my 20th birthday, we made an offer. It was I think it was only the second house that we had made an offer on, and we got the house.
Yeah, it was the second.
Yeah.
I remember the first. Do you remember the first?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to walk you through it. Because it was blue, blue siding, which is cute.
That's cute. It could be cute.
We love a blue moment.
Wait, we need to back up. So we were in university at the time.
Yes.
And
we were second year. I was in first year when we started to look for a house after we had done painting for a year, and we were like, you know what? We have the money, let's do it.
Yeah. So we were living in Waterloo, Ontario, where it's actually a really good place to buy your first house.
Especially as a young person.
Because the prices are a lot lower. You're far enough away from Toronto, the GTA, where the prices are lower. And we didn't have to pay the mortgage ourselves because we just got our 3 friends who we would have been renting with anyway to be tenants instead of like fellow renters. And those 3 tenants was enough money to pay the mortgage and a little bit of a emergency fund.
Yeah, which we needed.
Yeah, we eventually needed
there.
So that's kind of how we got through university, was we didn't have to pay rent because we had worked our butts off to make money for the down payment, and then the mortgage was paid by the tenants.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm almost 24 and I've never paid rent, ever.
Wow.
Which is something I think really cool to say and I'm very proud of, but it's also like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, not a lot of people can say that.
Yeah, like I know right now currently I'm living with my parents, so that doesn't really count. Like that's not something I'm proud of. But I'm doing that to save money, to like keep growing as a person and keep
and I want to come back to that, but let's talk about that first house that we made an offer on for some reason.
Oh my gosh. Well, it was just different. I think we both wanted something with character. Yeah. We were just so new to everything.
And I think at that time, like whenever you're looking in a university town for a house, every meter closer to the university that you are, the more expensive it gets, but the easier it is to get tenants. So we found this house that was steps from the university. Yeah. And more money than a lot of the other places that we had looked at, but it was in like sketch alley of university town.
Because it was so close. Like, we all know. Anyone who's been to university knows those towns right around are like really fun to like party at, but to actually live in, like a little bit frightening. Yeah.
So we did make an offer on a house that had like, the kitchen was in the basement.
Yes, and there was like really no windows at all. We were like, it's okay, we can like string lights.
Yeah, just a weird house, but again, not crazy high price, and it was just so close to the school that we were like, you can get tenants. You can get tenants in a really crappy house if you're in the right location.
100%.
But we ended up going with a house that was like 10-minute walk from Laurier, where we were going to school.
Which you were very against.
I was. I
was
thought it would be too far because I was in second year at the time, and I was renting in a house really close to where that first house was. And again, like the house had character that I was living in, but to me the value was it's so close to the school, it steps to the school.
Yeah, I mean you had like rats. So like cute, like we love being close to the school, but rats are something
that's very true.
Yeah.
And you also have to consider when you're buying an investment property like that the nicer the house is, the better the tenants that you're going to get are. Yeah. So I think we were just looking at it as like everyone would want to live 10 minutes from the school, so we'll be able to get like a quantity of tenants
versus,
whereas the house we ended up with like much higher quality tenants because they wanted to stay in a really well kept, nice family style home.
Yeah, so I know we looked at a few places. Do you remember the other one that was like a 5-minute closer walk, but on the street we bought on? And we went to the basement, and the basement was a bit dungeony, and there was a second kitchen in the basement, which we were like, oh great, like duplex, like two unit, but this house was so disgusting. I think it was like a bunch of football boys that lived there.
Maybe.
So like that's cool, like
do you?
That's that aspect. But the kitchen sink was literally full of barf of like vomit.
And we were like cereal. Like the kitchen sink, the drain was definitely not flowing.
No, she was full.
And the things in that sink and the odor.
Yeah. But you were like, I was closer, like I'll clean it. She was like, I'll handle the sink. And I'm like, we are not buying that.
And I mean, it's the same thing. If you're trying to get into the market, do what you have to do. Hire a cleaning company. Like, if you need to do updates to make it even livable, but that's the house you can afford, get in the market.
Totally.
That's the way that I was looking at it.
And I think that's something with our generation that's changing a ton. Even as a realtor, I'm seeing that a lot. Yeah. Our generation wants a move-in ready first home. they want like that turnkey. They move in and it has the quartz counter, the marble counters, and you know, hardwood floors,
beautiful lighting,
but
everything open concept, like
Yeah.
your perfect home with all the perfect finishes.
Yeah, but unless you have $1 million in a lot of GTA of Ontario, like you just can't do that. And we knew that going into it. We were like, and I think we liked the idea of fixing something up too.
Yeah.
We wanted that satisfaction of
Definitely.
like learning how to like lay flooring.
Yeah.
And learning how to like, you know, do all these different things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the most fun parts of owning a house together was doing that and was learning that. And some of our best memories are when something went wrong and it was just like this adventure of like, okay, now we're learning how to plunge a toilet.
Yeah.
And now we're learning how to call an electrician. And you know, all these
things. And now our
things
basement is a swimming pool. Now we learned how to call like a restoration company.
Yeah, we also had a flood.
That was my least favorite learning lesson. Everyone, check your washing machines. Make sure they are safe.
It is a learning lesson. And something else that happened to us a lot was we would call a plumber, we would call an electrician, because
we would go to Home Depot.
Oh, we would go to Home Depot. And the reaction that we would get was,
where's your dad?
Where's your dad? Is the decision maker home? Should I send the check to your dad? And it was like, our dad, what does our dad have to do with anything? He's not the one who called you to book. He's not here in Home Depot. We're the owners of the house.
Yeah.
And I remember
we're the one paying for every aspect of this. Like, this is my card, like my name, like hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, our names are on the ownership of this house. Do not ask for my father. He has nothing to do with this. And we did have our plumber.
Oh!
Ben.
Ben.
We love you.
Ben, I hope you're watching this. We miss you so much.
Our plumber from Waterloo, Ben, was so incredible. Unfortunately, he was called more times than we probably would like to admit for things that we didn't know how to deal with or want to deal with on our own. But he was one of the only contractors that we had into the house that wasn't kind of demeaning or just questioning, like, are you really the owners? You look like the tenants.
Yeah.
You look like the daughters.
Yeah, he was the first person who genuinely, like, respected us.
Yeah,
and so,
as the owners of the home, as entrepreneurs, and he's asking us about, like, and that meant a lot to us.
Totally.
And he totally earned our business.
Yeah, no, we adore Ben. I wish I had, like, remembered his phone number and kept that, because I'd link it below.
Yeah.
If anyone lives in the
plumber in
KW area.
But I wanted to come back to what you were talking about. We bought a house, we lived in it for 3 years, tenants paid the mortgage, and then we sold for $150,000 more than we bought for, something in that range.
Yeah, I think it was like exactly like $130,000, $140,000.
Yeah, and split the profits. And Carley has now bought her second investment property, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So we split those profits, which gave me, what, 60, 70,000, which is a great down payment after all the expenses of lawyer fees and all that. Realtor fees, all that fun stuff. And then I knew right away if I just saved that money and kept that money in my bank account, I would be like, oh, like, you know, like there's this sale happening, like might as well do this. Like, oh, there's this car that I really want. Yeah. I knew I would just spend it. Mm-hmm. So I was like, it's going to be in the account for like a week, and then I want it to be invested again, because I've always had a passion for real estate, and that's why I'm a realtor. Yeah. So yeah, I bought a single family home in like where I grew up, which is where I'm living now, and actually turned it into a duplex, like added a second kitchen, second bedroom downstairs, and now I have it fully rented with 2 different families in there, and it's awesome. Like, it's the best thing I ever did. Yeah. Other than my first house. Like, we learned so much through that, that allowed me to be able to do this second one on my own. But yeah, like, no regrets. Yeah. Totally worth it. So the interesting thing is that you're now 23, you own your second investment property, your second house, and you're living in your parents' basement. Yes. And I just want to say that that puts you in a really strong position. I think you can look at it as like, yeah, but have I really achieved that? Because I live at home. I'm not living in my dream house. I'm not living, you know, in a rent-free environment. But even
even if you're renting and you own a house with tenants,
Yeah.
you're making money.
Yeah.
And you're in the market, and you can sell that house today for more money than you bought it for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I mean, our generation is full of excuses for why you can't own a house. And don't get me wrong, like, it's a very difficult time to be getting in the market. We're very privileged to be where we are.
Yeah. Obviously, Laura mentioned that we were able to buy a house. You were 20, I was 18. Yeah. Like, I literally just became the legal age to purchase a home in Canada is 18. Yeah. And I had turned 18 like 6 months before that.
Yeah.
But that was strictly because all of the money that we earned, we spent on that house. Yeah. And yes, we were in university, yes, we were doing all these things, but thankfully our family had saved money for them to be able to pay for us to go to school.
Yeah.
So there definitely are other students who don't have that opportunity.
Yeah. So to be really transparent, our parents paid for our family vacations. We didn't feel the need to be spending our disposable income on travel because we would just go on family vacations that we didn't have to pay for.
Yeah.
Our parents paid for our tuition. Mm-hmm. They didn't pay for like any other expenses to do with school.
Yeah.
Our life savings before first year went to tuition as well.
Yeah.
So both of us have been working since we were 14 and haven't stopped working since. Mm-hmm. So all of the money from like 14 to 18 that we had earned through working through high school and in the summers went to like our first year tuition, and then they paid our other year's tuition. We paid for rent, books, food, whatever.
Yeah.
And the rent piece, it just didn't make sense to us. Why would we pay rent when we could buy a house? And then we hustled really hard, made the money for the down payment. But again, like, most people in our position aren't in a position to do that.
Yeah.
But there's lots of people that are, and they don't think that they are.
No. And I think a lot of that has to do with the media too.
Yeah.
All they hear is like, just stop buying Starbucks, like stop buying coffees and you can buy a house by the time you're 25.
Which that's a factor.
Absolutely. And that's true. Like, don't spend money on, like, we didn't do a lot of fun things that summer that we worked.
Well, and in general, like in high school, we weren't shopping, we weren't buying takeout food.
Yeah, we weren't like partying and doing all that. We
were saving our money.
Not that was fully to do with saving money, but
we did save our money and we did work really hard, and I think that it's more possible than most people think.
Yeah.
It's just something to consider. And the other thing is, like, you have to look at it not as I need to get in the market, which means buying my dream house with my boyfriend, or buying my dream house to live alone because I live alone now in my Toronto apartment, whatever.
Yeah.
Buy your first house and live in the basement and have a tenant pay for the upstairs apartment.
Yeah.
Buy your first house and rent it out to a family and continue paying your rent. But you know what I mean? Like, just get in the market. Even if you can't afford to be in the market, get in the market and have somebody else paying your mortgage for you through rent. Or do flips. Buy a really crappy house, slowly update it.
Yeah, if you're a handy person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then live in it, and then sell it and make the profits.
Yeah. And I think what was so great too with real estate, like even for the second house that I purchased in my hometown, is that there's this fun thing called refinancing. When, like, if you do all these updates and, you know, now my house is a duplex, now I can go back to my bank, who I have a mortgage with, and say, yeah, so I actually spent, you know, X amount of dollars on all these updates, and this is how beautiful it is, and I put in granite counters, and I put in nice flooring. So I want to up my mortgage, so my mortgage is a little bit higher every month, but that means I'm getting, say, another $50,000 or $100,000 basically cash in my pocket by just upping my mortgage. And that gives me another $100,000 to buy a third home.
Yeah.
So that's where growing in our real estate, like if you buy a second home, you know, like that's exactly how you do it. That's how all those big landlords and investors do it, is they buy one house, they do some updates, or just wait for the market to get better, they refinance, and they just keep on buying with all that money they're making.
Yeah. And I guess the other aspect of a mortgage that is hard to do when you're young is it's not just about a down payment and they'll just give you a mortgage. You have to prove that
you have credit.
that you have credit, which has many aspects. It's not just like I've been paying off my credit card since I was 18 and got a credit card. It's you have a job that's making consistent income, and at that time we didn't have that. So although our parents didn't give us a penny towards the house, which was a really important thing, that it was just us financially, our mom had to have her name on the mortgage and on the ownership.
So if we were to default and not pay, like it's on my mom now.
And
which
we never have 25 years of consistent income, and we didn't. Like,
I was 18.
You just can't have that many years. And when you're 20, you've probably worked 5 jobs of inconsistent income. And
I think it's so different for every situation. We can't just say, like, if you're 20 and want to buy a house, you have to get a cosigner. Like, that's not the case. A lot of people make more money than we did, or like we literally spent everything we made and didn't know if we had a job in the future. So that was a huge factor too. So it's so different for everybody. You have to depends on your bank. Like, there's so many things.
I think like the biggest aspect of people that are just so close to being able to afford to get in the market, or that's what they think. They think, like, I've been saving, I do have money for a down payment, but I just can't afford these $800,000 houses, like my dream, which is what my dream house looks like. Well, you probably can't afford your dream house. You probably won't be able to afford your dream house for many years. Get in the market. Buy a crappy house, live in it, update it, refinance it. And
I love crappy houses. Like, I truly do. I don't think I'll ever, even if I live in it myself and it's like my dream home, I truly think no matter what house I buy, I want it to be one that I can make my own. I think there's something so satisfying with that. And like, no one, I don't know, maybe I'm just so picky because I've seen so many houses doing the job that I do. But I feel like any house I go in, I'm like, I don't know, maybe that I would change, this I would change. So there's always so much fun with like...
making it your own. Doing the updates.
So why not just basically start from scratch? Like, obviously you want it to be livable, where you can move in right away. But that doesn't necessarily mean it.
It doesn't mean what we think it... Like, the definition of turnkey is a perfectly updated home, but no, you can live in a house that's not perfectly updated. If it has a roof and floors and plumbing,
running water,
you're probably fine.
Exactly.
And I think that's kind of where the media is coming in. Like, you see all of these articles on this townhouse in Oakville sold for $1 million. Yes, but it's probably a turnkey house. Yes, houses are selling for way over ask right now, but it's the turnkey houses that there's 25 buyers that want to buy it. The houses that do need updates, that are a little bit more rural, like those types of houses, you have a much better chance of getting for fair value.
And with working from home, like, I know so many of my friends are working at home. Like, rural, I know a lot of people are like terrified by that word, like living in like the country, but rural doesn't mean country. It just means like, you know, an hour from Toronto. And that still means there's malls close by. It still means like there's amenities and like delivery and like Wi-Fi, but the houses go down in price significantly and the quality is identical.
So I guess we need to jump back to the marriage versus mortgage conversation.
Oh my gosh.
The whole thing is just like qualifying ourselves. We can talk about that.
Like, I get the reason you want to have like a beautiful wedding. You want it to be memorable. But like, as we all know, like, that's one day of your life. And you could have an amazing, beautiful, romantic wedding that everyone remembers in the backyard of the home you just bought.
That's so true.
And then you can have like a housewarming / wedding.
Love that.
Sounds great, right?
So what other advice as a young real estate agent do you have for young buyers trying to get into the market and feeling like it's impossible?
I think the biggest thing would just be like, be open for advice and ask people for advice. Like, I'm sure many people's parents have a house or have a mortgage or have experienced owning a home. Ask them how they did it. Ask them how old they were. Ask them like what bank they use. Like, reach out to a mortgage broker. Maybe you think you have all this money and all, like, no money and like all this debt. Like, just ask them, like, if I wanted to buy a house right now, what would I be able to afford? And if they're like 100,000, then you wait.
Yeah.
And you keep saving, and maybe you find someone else to go in with you, or maybe you have more than you think you do.
Yeah.
So I think just like being willing, like kind of humble yourself to be able to ask questions, like contact a realtor, ask them, you know, what are the steps I need to take to be able to afford a house or be able to start that process. I know I work with a ton of first-time home buyers, and I love that because there's so many questions. And we were in that position not that long ago, like 3 years ago. And we had so many questions for our realtor, who was also our dad, which was so helpful because he gave us like all the great advice. But yeah, just humble yourself and ask people questions. That's, I think, like the biggest thing for like success in general. Like, do not be the smartest person in the room. Yeah. Like, do your research, read books. I have a great recommendation of books here, actually, that are really great. Like, yeah, just work hard, ask questions. Yeah. Don't pretend you're the smartest person in the room, because you're not.
And I think don't assume I can't afford real estate. If you're not saving your money, you haven't talked to a real estate agent, you haven't done an interview with a mortgage broker, you have no idea whether you can afford real estate or not.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this whole time we've kind of been like, get a house, like mortgages or marriages are stupid.
Oh no.
Marriages are also great. And for all those people on that show choosing marriage, like, that's
respect.
Great. The only thing, I think the first episode, I felt so, you saw the first episode. So they spend their $30,000 budget or whatever it was on marriage, and then COVID happens, and they're like, literally their wedding was canceled, and they got married like in like a field. Yeah. With like,
which is all you can
just
do.
The two of them. Which like kind of breaks your heart. It's like, crap, you missed out on a mortgage.
That's true too. Like, COVID is such a good excuse to have a small wedding. Yeah. Do your dream wedding for your favorite 20 people. And, you know, having a dream wedding with 20 people versus a dream wedding for 100 people, that's a down payment on the house.
And that's just so special.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. You can refinance and spend that money on a wedding.
There, that's the solution.
That's the solution. Yeah, mortgage, wait a year, and then marriage. You're set. Because there's never, I think the like coolest, not coolest, it's just like a statistical fact, but there's never a 7-year period in real estate where your house value does not like go up from what it was. And that's a good thing to remember. Like, a lot of people think, you know, you bought a house.
The market's so high right now.
Yeah, like, I'm going to buy it, and then I'm going to be in it for 2 years, and I'm going to lose a ton of money because the market's going to crash, or, you know, COVID's going to actually crash the economy.
But then it will go back up.
And it always goes up higher than it ever did.
Yeah.
Like, think about 2017 when the houses were selling for like so much over ask, and it was just so crazy. Like, now makes 2017 look like it was like a breeze. Yeah. Because now is so much more wild, and that was only a few years ago.
Yeah, that's the other aspect, is whenever, it's like the stock market, whenever prices are going really high, it's like, oh, I need to get into the market. And then the economy crashes, and it's like, oh no, do not buy stocks, do not buy a house. Oh, but no, it's the exact opposite. When prices are low, when you're in an economic crash, like, that is the time to invest, that's the time to buy. Yeah.
But to be able to do that, you have to be in a position to have that money for when it crashes. Like, even if a house is worth $600,000 and the market crashes, and for some horrible, sad reason, it becomes $400,000, you still have to be able to have a down payment of $400,000. Yeah. So if you have that when the market's really good, awesome. If you have that when it's really bad, even better, because you can probably buy like 1 or even 2 houses with that same down payment. So, I mean, definitely that doesn't mean like wait for a crash to buy, because a lot of times there's not crashes for many, many years.
Yeah, and it looks like things are just getting higher and higher, and there's no way they can get higher, and then they get higher, and they just continue doing that for 10 years.
And the crash could bring it back down to when you could have bought it in the first place. Like, why wait those years?
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so I guess we solved it.
Yeah, we've solved all the world issues with that.
Again, we recognize that we are privileged and that not everybody is in that same position, but I think it's the moral of the story, I guess, is that it's important to not just assume it's impossible, I'll never own a home, I'll never be in that position, when maybe you can right now. Maybe you do have the savings where you actually are capable of owning a home. Yeah. You just need to look at it differently and reframe it.
Totally. And like, don't make excuses. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, have that positive mindset and like speak it into existence. That's totally a thing.
Yeah.
Everyone is saying that
Manifest it.
lately, but like manifest it. Write it on your wall. Make
Yeah.
a mood board of like your dream home.
Yeah, and
All that
make
stuff's
it
so important.
specific like I did. Like, say by 26, I will own a home. By 30, I will own a home. Whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah.
And make it happen. Like, make it happen so strongly that it's like there's no other options.
Yeah.
This is what I'm putting all of my savings towards. This is my priority. And if you prioritize something to the point where there's no other options, like, it happens. It's going to happen for you.
Yeah. Yeah, my favorite quote that we like said so much when we were knocking on doors trying to get paint jobs from sounds weird. Paint jobs. In the summer, for like whenever we made all this money, we like would like blast Demi Lovato on the way to knock on doors, and then we would say, do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. And I don't know who that quote is from, some genius white man likely.
Yeah.
But it's so true. Like, if you're grumpy and like don't want to do it, and you're like, oh, it's been such a long week, but like a client calls, or you know, your boss wants you to work extra hours, like, do it.
That's
because
the time to do it.
Yeah.
Because when you start doing things when you don't want to do them at the highest level, that's when you'll start achieving way more than your peers, being just way better than everyone else in your industry.
Totally. So yeah, we're absolutely still learning. We are in no way experts. We're like still in our 20s. We're still learning. We're still growing. But we also have like huge goals for ourselves. Like we also both really push each other. Like, I'll be like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't know. And you'll be like, literally get off your butt and do it right now. Like, you're stupid. We have that like tough love.
I mean, we are sisters. Did we mention that?
Oh yeah. So we're allowed. It's okay. Like, you're ugly, get up and do it.
Yeah, but maybe you need to find a person in your life that'll say that to you. You know,
Yeah.
if you're that friend that's always complaining about like, oh, I don't have enough money, or anything really.
Yeah, I'm unhappy in my job.
Yeah.
Get a new one.
Yeah, you need somebody in your life that's gonna be like, well, if you're unhappy with your body, go exercise. If you're unhappy with your job, get a new job.
Yeah.
If you're unhappy that you can't afford a house, like, figure out what you can do to afford it. Ask professionals about it.
Yeah. And there's so many factors to that. Obviously, there's like certain situations where it's not that easy, but it's still important, like, in no matter what situation you're in, push yourself, but also just be positive.
Yeah.
Like, whatever position you're in is the best for you right then. So just like kill it.
Yeah. If you guys are interested in learning more about life as a first-time home buyer in Ontario and what your options are, Carley has lots of resources I'll link below, her TikTok, her Instagram. And if you have questions, I know she'd be more than happy if you reached out.
Definitely.
And let us know if there's other topics that you want us to just rant about. I mean, again, we're sisters, we're the same age. We could talk for 5 hours about most topics.
And we do. And our friends are the ones who told us to do this. They're like, you guys have a lot to say. Just start like recording
Monetize
yourself. Yeah, right. Oh, that'd be nice.
So yeah, let us know if this is the type of format that you'd enjoy more of and what topics you'd like to talk about.
Yeah, it's good being on the channel. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Exploring real estate today, guys.
Yes.
Marriage versus mortgage.
Let us know what you think.
See you in the next one.
I'll probably look overweight.
It's fine, we are.
Are we filming?